Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Narayana Namaskrityam
Narayanam Namaskrityam
Naram Chaiva Narottamam
Naram Chaiva Narottamam
Devim Saraswati Vyasam
Devim Saraswatim Vyasam
Tato Jayamudire
Tato Jaya Mudiret
Nashtaprayasu Bhadresu
Nashtapraeshu Bhadreshu
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya
Bhagavati Uttama Sloke
Bhagavati Uttam Sloke
Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki.
Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki.
Reading from Bhagavad Gita, chapter 18, titled Conclusion, the Perfection of Renunciation. And today's source is verse number 4. Nishayam shrunu me tatra
Nichayam Shunu Me Tatra
yage bharata sattama
Tyage Bharata Sattama
tyago hi purusha vyagra
Tyago Hi Purusha Vyagra
trividha samprakirtita
Trividha Samprakirtitaha
Nishayam shrunu me tatra
Nichayam Shunu Me Tatra
त्यागे भारत सत्तमा
Tyage Bharata Sattama
त्यागो हि पुरुष व्याघ्र
Tyago Hi Purush Vyagra
त्रिविध्य संप्रकृता.
Trivida Samprakirtitaha
Any Prabhujis or Matasis?
Nichayam Shunu Me Tatra
निश्चयं शृणु मे तत्र
Tyage Bharata Sattama
त्यागे भरत सत्तमा
Tyago Hi Purush Vyagra
त्यागो हि पुरुषो व्याघ्र
Trivida Samprakirtitaha
संप्रकीर्तिता.
निश्चयं शृणु मे तत्र
Nichayam Shunu Me Tatra
त्यागे भरतसत्तमा
Tyage Bharata
भरत
Sattama
सत्तमा
त्यागो हि पुरुष व्याघ्र
Tyago Hi Purusha Vyagra
त्रिविधः सम्प्रकीर्तितः
Trivida Samprakirtitaha
Nishayam, certainly.
Nichaya certainly.
Shrunu, here.
Shrunu here.
May, from me.
Me from me.
Tatra, therein.
Tatra therein.
Tyage, in the matter of renunciation.
Tyage in the matter of renunciation.
Bharat Sattama, of O best of the Bharatas.
Bharat Sattama, O best of the Bharatas.
Tyaga, renunciation.
Tyaga, renunciation.
He, certainly.
He certainly.
Purusha Vyaghra, O tiger among human beings.
Purush Vyagra, tiger among human beings.
Trividha, of three kinds.
Trividha of three kinds.
Samprakirtita is declared.
Sampakritata is declared.
Translation by His Divine Grace Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Swami Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
O best of the Bharatas.
O best of the Bharatas.
Now hear my judgment.
Now hear my judgment
about renunciation.
About renunciation.
O tiger among men.
O tiger among men.
Renunciation is declared.
Renunciation is declared
in the scriptures.
In the scriptures
to be of three kinds.
To be of three kinds.
Any Prabhuji or Mataji would like to read this purport by His Divine Grace?
although there are differences of opinion about renunciation,
difference of opinion
here the Supreme Personality
initiation.
of Godhead, Sri Krishna, gives his judgment, which should be taken as final. After all, the Vedas are different laws given by the Lord. Here the Lord is personally present, and his word should be taken as final. The Lord says that the process of renunciation should be considered in terms of the modes of material nature in which it is performed.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Let's all chant together. Om Agyana Timirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurvattam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Shri Chaitanya
चैतन्यमनोभीष्टं
Manobhishtam Yena
स्थापितं येन
Bhutale
भूतले
Swayam Rupa
स्वं
Kada
रूपा कदा
Mahimam
मह्यं
Dadati
ददाति
Swapadantikam
स्वपदान्तिकं
Vandeham
वन्देऽहं
Guru
श्रीगुरो
Shri Gutavata Kapalam Shri
श्रीयुतपदकमलं
Guru
गुरुं
Vaishnavamscha
वैष्णवंश
Rupam
रूपं
Sagraja
साग्रजातं
Sahagana
सहगणरघुनाथान्वितं
Vitam Tam
तं
Sajivam
सजीवं साद्वैतं
Sadvitam
सावधूतं
Savadhutam
परिजनसहितं
Parijan Saitam Krishna
कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं
Chaitanya Devam
श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान्
Radha Krishna Pada
सद्वैत
Radha Lalita
श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च
Sri
हे
Vishakha
कृष्णा
Hey
करुण
Krishna
सिंधो
Karuna Sindhu
दीनबन्धो जगत्पते
Dinabandho
Namastu
Jagatpate
Jagatpate
गोपेश गोपिका
Gopesha
Gopesha
कांत
Gopika
Kanta
राधाकान्त
Kanta
नमस्तुते
Radha
Namaste
Namastuti
तप्तकाञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधा
Gaurangi
वृन्दावनेश्वरी
Vande
वृन्दावनेश्वरी
Vrindavaneshwari
देवी
Vrishabhanu
प्रणमामि
Sute
हरिप्रिये
Devi Pranamami Haripriye
वाञ्छकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपया
Vanchakalpataruvasya
Sindhuvacha Krupa Sindhuvevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo
वैष्णवेभ्यो
Vaishnavebhyo
नमो
Namo
नमः
Namah
Jai
Jai
जय
Sri
श्री
Sri
कृष्ण
Krishna
चैतन्य
Chaitanya Prabhu
प्रभु नित्यानंद
Nityananda Sri
श्री
Advaita
अद्वैत
Gadadhara
गदाधर
Srivasadi
श्रीवासादि
Gaur
गौर
Bhakta
Adigaura
भक्त
Vrinda
Bhakta Vrinda
हरे
Hare
कृष्ण
Krishna Hare Krishna
कृष्ण
Krishna
कृष्ण
Krishna
हरे
Hare
हरे
Hare Hare
Hare
हरे
Rama Hare
राम
Rama
हरे राम
Rama Rama
राम
Hare
हरे
Hare.
हरे
Thank you so much for joining this wonderful Sangha. So today we're going to discuss about Lord Krishna's opinion about renunciation. So this is a very, very beautiful verse. In the last verse, which we went through in 18.3, Supreme Personality of Godhead is saying what other leading philosophers and leading poets are talking about renunciation. But here, Lord is giving his opinion. When Lord gives his opinion, Lord's decision is final. So here, Lord is starting by saying Nishchayam. That means certainly. So many times what happens whenever you see various different situations, you know, Kamsa doing something. Karna was a very renunciate, but actually he chose the path of the wrong. And there are a lot of discussion that Karna is a real heroic personality. He is a person who was given everything, he was treated unfair and all that. But actually, when the verdict of the Lord is shown, when Lord wants Arjuna to shoot at Karna, his decision is final. So, whenever we talk about these dualities, these arguments, every time the argument should stop with the decision of the Supreme. Because the Supreme Personality of Godhead is in our heart. And whatever his decision is, you may not agree because we're not equipped with that level of transcendental knowledge to accept the Lord. Forget about surrendering. We are not able to, accept certain things. A lot of people who will say that, hey, Ravana kidnapped Sita for the right reason because his sister nose was cut by Lakshmana. So because it was done like that, the response of Ravana trying to safeguard his brother as a brother to his sister is is genuine. But that's not right. This is because at the end of the day, it's the Lord's action, Lord's decision. So Nishchayam. So Nishchayam is very important. Whatever the other philosophers and poets may have said about renunciation is one thing, But Lord's decision, Lord's verdict is final. Nishchayam. So he's saying to Arjuna, Arjuna, you listen to me certainly with conviction. Shrunume tatra tyage bharata sattam. That means, oh, you're the best of, because Arjuna's prior generation and prior king is from King Bharata, and from King Bharata, the descendants have come. So you are one of the prominent members, is actually referring to Arjuna. Tyage hi Bharata Sattama, Tyago hi Purusha Vagra. That means you are a tiger among men. Why he is referring to tiger among men, we will also discuss. And Trividha Samprakirti. That means this renunciation is of three types, and it is based on the modes of material nature. And that is my final certain decision on the question of renunciation. So whenever we talk about renunciation, renunciation has to be understood in the right context. And we'll discuss a little bit about what a true renunciate is. And we should have no misconception about what renunciation should not be. And that is where Lord's decision is final, because Lord is saying, Nishchayam Shrunume Tatra. That means my decision is based on the modes. You can't say, I giving you $1,000 is renunciation. We have to talk about it. It's based on the modes of material nature. It's based on the Varnashram Dharma. And that is the reason why, as a Kshatriya, the right renunciation is not to do or not to give up work, but actually to do work and not expect the outcome of the work. And that is the true renunciation. So that's why Krishna is picking on Arjuna by saying, you are such a glorious person. Your duty is to protect this Bharat Varsha. And you are a tiger among Purushas. You are a tiger among Kshatriyas. So here, Lord is talking three or four things. He's talking Nishcham. That means his decision is final. His verdict is final. We should resort to the verdict of the scriptures where Lord is speaking as the final in deciding what is renunciation. First point over here. And then he's emphasizing, even if he is the guru in this case, but he's glorifying the Arjuna. He's glorifying his disciple as Bharat Sattama Purusha Vyagra. So that is where, even if you are in a high position, even if you are in a very powerful position, but you should always refer to your subordinates, giving respect of the action they carry. Whenever a person becomes a CEO of a company, he should become more humble. Even if people working under him are doing, he is there because of the people who are working under him. A person who is the president of a temple has to be more humble, because he is there because of the subordinates who left him during the time of the need. So whenever we use our words in a very nice manner with an emphasis on respect, we get a good outcome. And that is what Krishna is emphasizing. And then in the fourth line, Krishna is saying, Trividha Samprakritita. That means I'm declaring that because of the three modes of material nature, the renunciation vary. And in 18.5, 6, 7, we're going to talk detail about renunciation by mode of goodness, passion, and ignorance, because it is driven by modes. So what is renunciation? And here there is another point we have to also emphasize, is Lord in the past spoke about tyaga and sannyasa, renunciation and giving up and leading a life of a mendicant, or leading the life of a renunciate. But here, Lord spoke about Tyaga first. than sannyasa. So that means for Lord, tyaga is more important than sannyasa. Unless you do tyaga, you can go to the other level. But in Krishna consciousness, grihastha life is very, very important. The deeds of grihastha, to do tyaga in every step of the way, whether it is waking up at 4 o'clock to go to Mangala Arati, or doing some service in a festival which we just completed, or anything for that matter, where there is no tyaga, your descendants, your kids, your family members are not going to learn from you. So it is very important that we express tyaga, and the expression of tyaga is a way to mentor everybody. Srila Prabhupada came to United States in a freight boat. At that time, there was flights. With flights, he could have got to America in less than 24 hours. But it took him a month to come to America because he stayed, he traveled in a freight boat to come to America. So when he came in a freight boat, he exemplified Tyaga. And this is where we're going to go a little bit deep into the subject matter of Tyaga. So in chapter 16, there is, so this Tyaga is referred everywhere. Tyaga is referred with respect to karma. The Tyaga is referred with respect to bhakti. Tyaga is referred with reference to the yogic principle. So, if you look at some of the fundamental things about Tyaga, in karma also in chapter 16, Krishna emphasizes the need for Tyaga. So when Krishna was talking about renunciation of action, what does that mean? What does it mean? Renunciation of action doesn't mean that you renunciate to act. And that is a confusion in everyone. And Arjuna was trying to seek the answer to that question right in the battlefield. And he sought spiritual help because it is not renunciate, it's not kamchori. Renunciation is not about doing kamchori, it's not about not doing the work. Exactly. And Prabhuji is mentioning in the chat that it is to act without any desire, without seeking benefit or the fruits or the outcome of the result. It is renunciation. It's not to not work. Renunciation is not to be in inaction. Renunciation of action is act without desire, as Prabhuji is saying in the chat, or act with an intent to not enjoy the fruits of your labor. So if you have that mentality, you will constantly work without expecting the results. That is why Krishna consciousness, Bhagavad Gita is so beautiful. See, when you seek for the result and when you work with an intent to get the result, if for some reason the result doesn't go your way, you become frustrated, and that indirectly affects your ability to act. You lose interest and you finally give up work. That is not the intent. Bhagavad Gita is saying work, but don't work, wait for the desire. Your duty is to work. Your duty is to work. Your duty is to act, and not expecting the desire will prompt you. That mentality of not expecting anything in return for the work or the action you're doing will give you. Sometimes people seek a promotion in 2 years, 3 years. Doesn't happen. They stop working. And when they stop working, the performance goes down. Forget about promotion, they get demotion. That is not what Krishna consciousness is teaching us. Krishna consciousness is teaching us that don't expect the promotion, but you work with full enthusiasm. So once you get rid of that desire-seeking mentality from your mind, and you constantly work, the result is bound to come to you. That is why the Bhagavad Gita and Krishna consciousness is so beautiful, it's so powerful, it's so inspiring to our corporate world, because the intent is to work. It's not to renunciate work, it's the renunciation of action or the outcome of it. So that's why Tyaga is very important. And then we talk about this renunciation. Is this renunciation really? And this is where we have to talk a little bit about a concept called premature renunciation. So you see, here is a yogi who is going and he is enjoying a smoke in a very spiritual place. He is not a renunciate in all practical purposes. He is not equipped to renunciate. He doesn't have the right knowledge to renunciate. He See, renunciation is not you fail in your material life and then enter the spiritual life because you have failed in your material life. Renunciation is excel in your material life and then you develop love for Krishna in such a way that you can give that up and then you renunciate whatever you have achieved and move on. That's why when Srila Prabhupada started, many bright devotees who had succeeded who have got close to Nobel Prize. Swarup Damodar Maharaj, Dr. T.D. Singh. He is very close to getting Nobel Prize, but he wanted to get there, give it up. And now, with that talent he has, he spent his entire life for Krishna consciousness. You look at Swarup Damodar Maharaj in Google, his songs, his kathas, his everything, his preaching is top class. Because when you can get there and you can give it up, that means you have the power to get more. And that is true renunciation, not premature renunciation. Because mind is impure, senses will act as impure. Before purifying the heart and prior to doing prescribed duty, person, if he does renunciation, there will be challenges. So mind is a computer driving the hands and legs. So if you do not make the machine learn, then if you just leave it like that, he is going to go astray. And that's the reason why Krishna said to Arjuna, if you go to forest and beg for alms, you can't beg longer because your mentality is to fight because you are a Kshatriya. So you cannot beg longer because your sword will come out. So you have to stay within the natural realms to purify. So we can purify ourselves, we can get our senses in order, we can control our mind. Then, when you take the step of going to your next step of giving it up, if you have something, then only you can give it up. If you don't have anything, how can you give it up? So, Krishna consciousness that's why it's so powerful, because you have something, and then you have the dare attitude of not wearing a pant and go with a dhoti, because you think that when you go with dhoti, that's how you would serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When you go to office, you go with the intent of suit and boot and tie. But when you come to the temple, you have the right attire to go. So if you have got there, you have understood it, our attitude of giving it up will not be any challenging, because that yardstick or that 2 years, 3 years into Krishna consciousness, you feel a bit hiccup in not putting tilak, when you go out and not wearing dhoti. But after some time, you realize that if you can give it up, your natural wearing of dhoti or lungi in your house and go in suit and boot to temple just because you're making money and not able to go with an intent with a dhoti and kurta with tilak on your forehead to the temple, that is giving up. Giving up because you have the power to give up. You're convinced that you could give up. And then also giving up or renunciation has to do with varnashram. As you can see, there is this teacher, the Brahmanas, who have Sattva-guna, who have the mode of goodness. He is constantly teaching. So in that constant teaching, he may not end up making more money because he is asked by the Varnashram Dharma to teach. He stays and does the renunciation process of not seeking. There are many devotees in Jagannath Puri. They could go out and make a lot more money. But for their love for Lord Jagannath, they don't leave Puri. And what a big sacrifice they have, what a big renunciation they are posing to the society because of the love for Lord Jagannath. They don't leave because they have prescribed duties over a period of generations. And likewise, as an administrator, as a businessman, you see in the left bottom side, you have the top right side, you have somebody who's protecting Rajoguna as an administrator, like a king. And then as a businessman on the lower left side, you have somebody who is a trader who is doing sacrifices or doing renunciation at the level of Varna. And then as an artisan, as a Sudra, he is under Tamoguna. And he has to stay within the confines of the Guna because that's how and once you transcend one mode of, Tamo to Rajo, Rajo to Sattva, and then over a period of time, as you do more and more, you realize the importance. So this varnashram, which is made, is not a caste system. People have made a mistake by misusing this varnashram. Varnashram dharma is like different departments. In an office, you have a finance department, an IT department, and a marketing department. They all do their own prescribed duties, and that is why varnashram dharma was created. But over a period of time, it was misused. The Varnashram Dharma, which was started by Lord Krishna, eventually became a caste system because people misused it. Caste system is not an outcome of the prescribed duties. Prescribed duties are very nicely explained in Bhagavad Gita and various different scriptures. So, when we can say that we can renunciate, for renunciation, there is another aspect we should come to you, which is a sense of realization. When Dhruva Maharaj was removed by his stepmom because the stepmom wanted to keep Dhruva Maharaj's stepbrother on the lap of his father, and his father could do nothing. He left home, he left the kingdom, and he wanted to meditate. He wanted to renunciate, and when Narada came and said, you can't do this. He said, I'll renounce. I'll do this yogic practice of standing, doing pranayam, doing Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, and the chanting in such a way that I get a kingdom which is bigger than my forefathers. And then after a lot of days, the Supreme Personality of God had appeared in his heart. And when the Supreme Personality of God had appeared in his heart, he could see the beauty of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the conviction in the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and his love for the Supreme Personality of Godhead was so bright. Then at that point in time, he realized that he was after the kingdom. He was after, this wealth. He was after the diamond. But then he realized that the items he was after, which he thought as diamonds, is nothing but pebbles. And then he gave it up. He gave it up. But, eventually he went to the Supreme Personality of Godhead's abode as because he has is one of the top persons. But that realization to give it up after getting everything is something which I want to impress upon you devotees. That whenever we do our duty, we think that in this service, somebody will praise me, somebody will do this, I'll get a promotion, I'll get a pat in the back. But thinking like Dhruva Maharaj, who got everything, but then realized this is nothing, this is what am I after? This mindset of feeling the renunciation or acting as if the outcome of the work you end up doing is not good enough. That mindset that, okay, I did this many things for the temple for 10 years. Even if I get a pat in the back, what is that which is going to do good to me? Is it going to really change the way I start loving the Supreme Personality of Godhead? That's immaterial. Once that mindset sets in, then you realize that you have already achieved a sense of renunciation and ability to do tyaga with an intent to not have any desires. So that mindset of renunciation, of seeing the outcome of the work you have done as something insignificant, it's not feeling that you are insignificant. It's feeling that the outcome of the work is insignificant, makes you a renunciate. And that is what differentiates a true Krishna conscious devotee. So Krishna consciousness is not a post or not a subscript of Das or a super or a prefix of His grace or His holiness. It's an it's a process where it's a way of life where you feel the Krishna consciousness concepts are embedded in your lifestyle, in Tyaga. And next verse, we're going into the Tyaga or renunciation in the mode of goodness. And then we'll try to go every sloka. This is the last chapter. And if we get the last message of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, which is embedded in 60, 70 verses, it will make us realize how Lord is ending his message to his greatest disciple and his devotees. So with that, I want to end here. Hope the concept of Tyaga as described by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, we can internalize and will get benefit from that. With that, I'd like to end here. Hare Krishna, any question, comments, reflections? Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Any comments, Prabhu?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. When you describe the Varna, right? I mean, there is also, Prabhuji, I mean, what is that? Is sannyasa is different than the Varna or something? Like,
yeah. So sannyas is actually not categorized as Varna.
okay.
Sannyas is a process. See, there are two things. There is Nitya Karma and Kama Karma. Nitya Karma is our day-to-day activities, and Kama Karma is you end up doing a job and then you get a salary. So as a Grihastha, see there are 4 ashramas and 4 varnas, right? The 4 varnas are Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, and 4 ashramas are Brahmacharya, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, and Sannyasa.
Yes.
So if you think about x-axis, y-axis, there are 4 x-axis and 4 in the y-axis. So there are 16 cells. You can be in any one of the cells. So you can be a sannyas and you may end up doing activities which are more like administration. So you can be a sannyas and you can be administrator. You can be sannyas, you can be artisan. So if you see uh, Parashuram, Parashuram was a sannyas by his actions, but he was a kshatriya and he kind of tormented, so many kings. You have heard the story at the past time. So the varna and ashram is actually a intersection of four varnas and four ashramas, and sannyas is one of the ashramas. Does that help you?
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you for explaining.
And any other comments?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. One question though, the duty thing, right? How do we define a person's duty? Like it depends, it changes based on his circumstance and the scenarios, right? Who defines the duty of a person? Is it himself or someone else outside?
Yes, so very nice question, bro. So when we talk about duty, right? So we, as a human being, we have different duties. You are a father, you are a husband, you are a uh, uh, grandson. Likewise, another person could be mother, could be sister. So the same person has different relationship, and you have your duties. Your question is on duties, right, bro?
Right. Yes, bro.
So your duty as a brother or a father or a son, you have duties for everyone. You have duties for this earth. You have duties for your guru. So based on your position, based on your relationship, you have duties. And you have the duties for your Pitrupaksha, for your forefathers. So whenever you end up doing your day-to-day life, you should be cognizant that you do the duties and responsibilities bestowed on you. Otherwise, you cannot perform at that level, which is why in ISKCON, for example, if person wants to be a sannyas, they ask the family members, can they live without you? And if any of them says no, they can't, then their sannyas application is rejected, and there is a big queue based on. So all I'm trying to get at, Prabhu, is we have different duties, and we have to do all these duties in the confines of a tinge of Krishna consciousness. And when you apply the principles, what you're reading, what you're hearing, what you're getting from Bhagavad Gita, into the duties you have, it will make you a better person as a father or a son or a grandson. It is Krishna consciousness will extend your quality as a duty holder of that particular role you have. So your relationships, your and these duties are very nicely explained in Srimad Bhagavatam. We all have duties for Prithvi. That's the reason why when a Odissi dancer does Odissi dance, he first does Bhumi Pranam, because he is going to crush with his legs, he's going to thump with his legs, and Mother Earth is going to get tired. So he begs forgiveness, and then he does the dance performance. Likewise, we have duties, as I mentioned, to all the relationship. Pitru Paksha, Kartik is a time when we give a lot of oblations to our Pitrupaksha. So we have duties, and we should make sure Krishna consciousness is helping you in performing those duties you have for your kids and spouse and parents and so on. Okay, bro?
Yes, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, one additional. So sometimes you do not, fulfill all the duties, right? So is in that scenario, do we get judged on that? Like, you perform something and you didn't perform some other duties, but at the end, do we get judged for those things which we could not able to do it?
Yeah. So your question is, see, we are getting. See, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, the happiness and sadness are like sitosna sukha dukkhada. That means it's like winter season and summer season. It changes. So our outcome of the duty in terms of how you perform the duty is done by your prarabdha karma. So you'll be judged because Krishna is in your hearts as Kshirodaksha Vishnu, and he is seeing everything what you're doing. It's like in a tree there are two birds. One bird is eating the fruits of the tree, and the other bird is looking at the bird who is eating the fruits of the tree. So the other bird is like Paramatma in your hearts. So he is always watching you. If you think that you can do a misdeed or a wrong thing and escape, you will not have consequences. We are going to get caught in the karma cycle. Okay, let's not make mistake. You can dodge your boss or you're an umpire in a cricket field or whatever, but with the Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So all we're saying is we have to be truthful to us. The Krishna consciousness is prompting us to be truthful, powerful, an ability to acquire something and give it up by the renunciation we talked about today. So, in your best ability, see, Krishna looks at your intent. Krishna doesn't look. So, if a person is doing $1 million and is giving $1,000 to temple, but if a person who is earning 100K and giving $1,000 to the temple, in the eyes of Krishna, this second person in my example is more dear because he is sharing a bigger proportion. Because Krishna is seeing the intent of Sudama, the intent of his devotees, the intent of Salbik for that matter, Lord Jagannath, looking at. So Salbek is from a Muslim background, but Lord loves his bhajans. Lord is going to take coconut from Dasya Bauri in that sense. So, as long as your intent is not to trouble somebody in your duty bound thing and you have tried, I think you've given your best. Okay, bro?
Yes, Prabhuji. Hare
Krishna. Any other comments? Yeah. So, we wanted to discuss about the timelines. There is a very nice discussion which is going in our uh, WhatsApp group. So I thought I'll discuss a little bit about the timeline we have. Because Krishna mentions he is time, right? He is he himself is time, and there are many instances, and in Srimad Bhagavatam it says labhamatra sadhu sangha means a little interaction with sadhu sangha you can acquire Krishna, and also at the same time Brahma ji lives for 100 years, and his 100 years is equivalent to billions of years for us. Okay, and there is some comparison between all those timings and the scientific timings. So in terms of the scientist, the scientist said this world came with a big bang. There was a big explosion, and all of a sudden, this beautiful Earth, after destruction, everything is broken, right? But here, the scientist said, after destruction, everything is started. And there is another scientific theory of science of primordial soup. That means there's a boiling thing, and all of a sudden, this Earth got created. So when we try to rationalize scientific things with reference to Srimad Bhagavatam, is bound to have confusion because we all have a scientific mind, right? So it is fine. But in Srimad Bhagavatam, the lava matra sadhusanga, where lava is a fraction of second. But for example, Narad Muni used to have very little association when he was a son of a maid servant who was basically taking care and eating the remnant of the sadhus who used to go. But that little lava matra sadhu sangha sarva siddhi hoy. That means uh, so always trying to find scientific answers. See, there is always a lot of details. See, we don't know what we don't know, right? And we know what we know. So by trying to analyze the time angle in terms of creation, destruction, maintenance, with the amount of time, if we are not fully knowledgeable, we may start saying things which will be out of context. So why I want to say this, I want to give an example. Recently, you might have heard of some action where a top personalities words are taken in a very little context, and they blew it up, and there are groups who are waiting to kind of defame or trying to make an incorrect outcome from your statements. So I'm just trying to say that if I don't know enough about that scientific research, I would just stay with Srimad Bhagavatam's concepts about the time period of Brahmaji. And that is a very interesting topic. And sometimes we may not have answers to all the questions, but it is always better to keep our minds enthused, but at the same time not get carried away. I just wanted to say that. But actually, it was a wonderful post. And I wanted to talk a little bit about that, because whenever we have a community in WhatsApp, we should always refer to this thing, and some of the yoga stories which are sent by Gaurang Prabhu is very powerful. And I just wanted to say that if you want more content, you can just let us know, and we will send you more Krishna conscious material for your benefit. Is that okay, Prabhu?
Yeah, yes, Prabhu. I just wanted to add one thing, so if you see, right, whatever in Srimad Bhagavatam has been mentioned, that is absolutely right. You know why? Because obviously means that is the gist of on the, Puranas. Okay. So if you see, when it has been in Srimad Bhagavatam, the way it has been mentioned, what happens during the prayer time. So the scientists could reach till 900,000 years, not beyond that. But Srimad Bhagavatam is time immemorial, right? So the CNN article which says they found that 900,000 years back, probably this happened, but still it is not, you know why? Because still 1,200 or the 3,000 people were living, so at that time. So in that sense, if you will see, Srimad Bhagavatam is always right, and if there was one, I think Gauranga Prabhu's lecture or somewhere, he has mentioned scientists prove always themselves wrong because with the technologies they have, whatever they invent today, again after 100 years down the line, they reinvent something and they prove their invention 100 years back wrong. But one thing is that our holy scriptures on which stood right. So in the sense means that is one of the interesting thing, So if you see that, so the obviously the scientists are wrong, and they kind of whatever they found today, maybe 100 years back, this 900,000 years, so it will go down the line. But if you compare whatever is Srimad Bhagavatam has to offer, so it is kind of written. It's the biggest evidence for everything.
Right.
So that's quite interesting, So because it will remain always true that whatever has been written in our scriptures, and I know that scientists cannot go to that realm. So to be honest, even moon also they are saying that we reached moon. Moon is not right. But so if you see, scripturally, so that's a wrong statement to give that okay we reached moon. So yeah, but that's an interesting topic, though.
Yeah. So one thing, thank you, bro, for the comment. But what is happening is over a period of time, right? Over a period of time, our knowledge is based on our experiences, on our reception to a lot of things we have learned. And our knowledge is infinitesimal in comparison to many, actually. So as you can see, there was a beautiful article recently. A scientist was doing research in a cave, and then once he's getting into the cave, then he gets lost in the cave, and this country is sending people to rescue the scientist from the cave because he got, by virtue of his desire to go into the truth, he itself became lost. And you might have heard, this is a yesterday's article. You might have searched. You can search.
Yes.
So,
Few
so
days
there's a
back, yes,
scientist who was searching for the truth, and then he's got lost. Then this country is sending hundreds of people to rescue from the cave. So all I'm saying is, sometimes when we go too much into it, we maybe become far from to truth. So yes, so just because somebody said something, and there is this, because nowadays what is happening, there's a lot of information and there is a lot of fake stories, and they are resorting to chat gpt to generate things and put it. But chat gpt is not a human being, so we are being constantly bombarded with information which did not even originate from a human being. It's originating from a machine. So and gradually, with more information, there's more confusion. So there is always that scientist and spiritualist argument. But we think Krishna consciousness is the greatest practical science, and it has answers to everything. Okay, bro?
Haribol Prabhu. Yeah, yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah. So let's end here. Is there any questions or comments? Okay. So tomorrow we have Krishna dress competition in the temple. So please tell your friends to come and cheer the young kids, because generally when kids make mistake on stage, it is very powerful. Krishna exhibited his greatest pastimes when he was a kid. He was such a powerful kid In order to kill all the demons, he didn't use a single weapon. He just used thumping, kicking, wrestling, pure hand work. So awesome time to generate enthusiasm in kids at a very early age. And we have our Sunday. And tomorrow we are also celebrating Chandan Yatra. That means Lord Shyamsundar will be smeared with Chandan because it's very hot now, and you can have darshan of the Chandan Vesh of Shyamsundar in a totally smear. So it's a very beautiful Vesha to purify our eyes and encourage kids, and also the Sunday feast will be there. So please encourage everybody to join. Okay.
Okay.
So we'll end here by offering prayers to the lotus feet of all Vaishnavas. Vancha kalpataru vesha patitanam
Vaishnavebhyo namo namo. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Dandavat pranam. Thank you so much, Prabhuji and Mataji, for joining.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.